It took exactly 347 messages, 89 voice notes, and one accidentally unlocked phone for me to realize that the man I'd been falling in love with online for 8 months was my roommate Jake, who I saw every single day in our shared apartment and couldn't stand. But let me start from the beginning. My name is Maya. I'm 26 years old, and I moved to Seattle 2 years ago for a marketing job that promised creative freedom, but delivered soul-crushing PowerPoint presentations and passive-aggressive Slack messages. The usual millennial dream turned nightmare. You know the drill. Finding an affordable apartment in Seattle is like finding a unicorn that pays rent. Impossible. So when I saw a listing for a 2-bedroom in Capitol Hill for only $1,200 a month, my half, I jumped on it before reading the fine print. The fine print being, you'll be living with a complete stranger who turns out to be the most annoying human being on the planet. Jake moved in 3 days before me. He was 28, worked in tech because of course he did, this is Seattle, and had this infuriating habit of leaving passive-aggressive notes everywhere instead of just talking to me like a normal person. Hey Maya, just FYI, the dishes don't wash themselves. Smiley face. With a smiley face like that made it less obnoxious. Reminder, trash day is Thursday. Would hate for you to forget again. Emphasis on again, like I'd forgotten more than once. It hadn't. Your music is a bit loud. Some of us have early meetings. Thanks. Translation, I hate your taste in music and I'm judging you for sleeping past 7 a.m. on a Saturday. He was one of those people who meal prepped every Sunday, labeled everything in the fridge with his name and the date like we were in a college dorm, and had a chore chart. An actual printed chore chart that he laminated and stuck to the refrigerator with amagnet. That I hated him. Not in a violent way, just in that low-grade constant annoyance way, where everything someone does makes you want to scream. The way he chewed his protein bars. The way he cleared his throat before speaking. The way he'd hover in the kitchen when I was cooking, clearly wanting to use the stove, but too passive-aggressive to just ask. We had nothing in common. He listened to podcasts about cryptocurrency and optimization. I listened to true crime and conspiracy theories. He watched documentaries about tech billionaires. I watched trashy reality TV. He went to bed at 10 p.m. He was a night owl who did my best work after midnight. We were oil and water. Fire and ice. Every roommate cliche you can think of naturally. I spent as little time in the apartment as possible. Worked late. Went to coffee shops on weekends. Visited friends. Anything to avoid making small talk with Jake about his latest productivity hack or listening to him explain blockchain for the 15th time. That's when I joined the online forum. .it was this niche community for people who were into urban exploration. Abandoned buildings, forgotten places, the beauty in decay. I'd always been fascinated by it, but never had anyone to talk to about it. My friends thought it was weird. My co-workers definitely thought it was weird when I mentioned it once at happy hour and got blank stares. But online? Online I found my people. The forum was small, maybe 200 active members. People posted photos of abandoned hospitals, closed down malls, forgotten subway stations. We'd share stories, give tips on locations, discuss the ethics of trespassing versus preserving history that I posted under the username Midnight Maya. Creative, I know, but it felt right. I did most of my browsing late at night when Jake was asleep and the apartment was finally quiet. That's where I met him. Or rather, that's where I met who I thought was him. Username UrbanPhantom. He commented on one of my posts, a photo I'd taken of an abandoned theater in the International District. I'd snuck in through a broken window, spent an hour photographing the peeling paint and torn velvet seats, the stage where performers once stood now covered in dust and pigeon droppings. His comment. The way you captured the light through the holes in the ceiling is incredible. You can almost hear the ghosts of old performances. Have you been to the Colonial Hotel on First Avenue? Similar vibe, even more haunting. I responded. He responded back. We started chatting in the forum's private message system, AT first. It was just about urban exploration. Sharing locations, trading stories, discussing camera equipment. He was knowledgeable, articulate, funny in a dry, subtle way that made me actually laugh out loud at my laptop screen at 2 a.m. Then it became more personal. We started talking about our lives. Our jobs, our frustrations, our dreams. He told me he worked in a creative field but felt stifled by corporate culture. That he felt like he was living someone else's life, checking boxes society told him to check. That he wanted more, but didn't know how to get it. That I told him about my soul-crushing marketing job. About how I'd moved to Seattle thinking it would be this amazing fresh start, but instead felt more lost than ever. About my annoying roommate with his passive-aggressive notes and his stupid chore chart. He got it.
Got me.
In a way no one else seemed to. We started voice messaging each other. The forum had a feature where you could send audio messages, and hearing his voice made everything feel more real. He had this deep, warm voice with a slight rasp to it. He'd send me long, rambling messages about philosophy and art and the meaning of beauty in forgotten places. I'd send messages back, usually recorded late at night when I couldn't sleep, talking about whatever was on my mind. My childhood, my family, my fears, my hopes. Things I hadn't told anyone. 3 months into our friendship, if you could call it that, I realized I was falling for him. This person I'd never met. This voice in the dark who understood me better than people I'd known for years. Did I know how it sounds? Pathetic, right? Falling for someone online while living in a city full of actual real people. But there was something about the anonymity of it. The safety. I could be completely myself without worrying about being judged or rejected in person. UrbanPhantom felt the same way. He told me one night, in a voice message that I must have listened to 50 times, "I've never connected with anyone the way I connect with you. You see the world differently. You make me want to be braver, to live more authentically. I know this is crazy, talking about feelings with someone I've never met, but I can't help it. You're special, Maya." My heart practically exploded. No one had ever said anything like that to me. Definitely not in person. Definitely not with such raw honesty. That we started talking every day, multiple times a day. Good morning messages, throughout the day updates, long conversations at night. We'd stay up until 3, 4 a.m. just talking about everything and nothing, and my friends noticed I was distracted. Always on my phone, smiling at my screen. They asked if I was seeing someone. I told them it was complicated. How do you explain that you're falling in love with a voice? With words on a screen? With someone you've never actually met? Jake noticed too. He made one of his passive-aggressive comments. "You're up pretty late these days. Hope you're not disturbing anyone." With that same infuriating smiley face, I wanted to tell him to mind his own business. That what I did in my room at night was none of his concern. But I just smiled tightly and said I'd try to keep it down. The irony, looking back now, is almost painful. Around month 5, UrbanPhantom and I started talking about meeting in person. We were both in Seattle, though he'd never specified exactly where. The city's big enough that we could have been miles apart. I was nervous. Terrified, actually. What if the chemistry we had online didn't translate in person? What if he was disappointed when he saw me? What if I was disappointed when I saw him, but also excited? So excited I could barely concentrate at work. I started planning outfits, redoing my makeup multiple times, practicing what I'd say. When we finally came face to face, we decided to meet at a coffee shop in Fremont. Neutral territory. Public place. Standard first meeting protocol. The day before we were supposed to meet, I came home from work early. I'd left my laptop at the apartment and needed it for presentation. When I walked in, I expected Jake to be at work. He usually didn't get home until 6, but he was there, sitting on the couch, with his laptop open, talking into his phone. I was about to apologize for interrupting when I heard what he was saying. "Can't wait to finally meet you tomorrow. I know I should be nervous, but I just feel excited. Like I already know you, you know? Like we've known each other forever." That voice, that deep, warm voice with a slight rasp, my stomach dropped. No. No, that it couldn't be. It couldn't possibly be. Jake looked up, saw me standing there frozen in the doorway. His eyes went wide. He quickly said, "I have to go. Talk later." And hung up. We stared at each other for a long moment. "Maya," he said, "you're home early. That was you." My voice came out strangled, barely above a whisper. "You're UrbanPhantom." The color drained from his face. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. "I can explain." Explain? I felt like I might throw up. Explain what? That you've been catfishing me for 5 months? That you've been pretending to be someone else while living 20 feet away from me? I wasn't catfishing you. I never lied about who I was. You never told me who you were. That's literally the same thing. He stood up, hands raised like he was trying to calm a wild animal. "Okay, you're right. I should have told you. But I didn't know it was you at first. When I saw your username on the forum, I had no idea Midnight Maya was my roommate Maya. The forum doesn't show real names. When did you figure it out?" He hesitated. "About a week in. You mentioned your annoying roommate who made chore charts. And I thought, that's oddly specific. So I looked at your posting history, and you'd mentioned Seattle, Capitol Hill, working in marketing. It all added up. A week. You knew for almost 5 months, and you didn't say anything. I know how it sounds. But Maya, by the time I figured it out, we were already connecting. Really connecting. And I knew if it told you it was me, you'd never talk to me again. You hate me. I don't hate you. Yes, you do. You can barely stand to be in the same room as me. You leave when I come home. You eat dinner in your room. You look at me like I'm some annoying bug you want to squash. He wasn't wrong. That's exactly how I'd been treating him. But hearing him say it out loud, hearing the hurt in his voice, made me feel sick. That's not an excuse for lying to me, I said, but my voice was weaker now. I know it's not. But Maya, everything I said to you as Urban Phantom, all of it was real. Those were my real thoughts, my real feelings. I wasn't pretending. I was just hiding behind a username because it was the only way you'd actually listen to me. I sank down onto the chair opposite the couch, my legs suddenly unable to hold me. My mind was racing, trying to reconcile the Jake I knew, the annoying roommate with his notes and his schedules, with Urban Phantom, the person who'd made me laugh and think and feel seen for the first time in years. The voice messages, I said. That was really you. Yeah. The things you said about feeling stifled, about living someone else's life. All true. Maya, I hate my job. I hate the tech bro culture. I hate pretending to care about optimization and productivity hacks. I started doing urban exploration because it was the only thing that made me feel alive. The only thing that felt real. Then why all the notes? The chore chart? The passive-aggressive roommate bullshit. He laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Because I didn't know how else to talk to you. You made it clear from day one that you didn't want to be friends. You'd come home and go straight to your room. You'd avoid eye contact in the kitchen. So I left notes because at least that way I could communicate with you without you running away. I wasn't running away. Yes, you were. We both were. Running from ourselves, from each other, from everything real. That's why the forum worked. That's why we connected online. Because we could finally be honest without all the walls we'd built up. I didn't know what to say. Didn't know how to process any of this. The person I'd been falling in love with was sitting right in front of me, and he was the person I'd convinced myself I couldn't stand. I need time, I finally said. I need to think. Okay. Yeah, of course. Take all the time you need. I stood up, grabbed my laptop, and went to my room. Locked the door. Sat on my bed staring at the wall. My phone buzzed. A message on the forum from Urban Phantom. No, from Jake. I'm sorry. I should have told you sooner. But I'm not sorry for getting to know you. You're exactly as amazing as I thought you were. Even more, actually. If you never want to talk to me again, I'll understand. But I hope you don't make that choice. Because these last 5 months, talking to you, getting to know you, they've been the best months I've had in years. I cried. Actually sobbed into my pillow like a teenager. Because I didn't know if I was angry or hurt or confused or all three at once. I thought about all our conversations. All the voice messages. All the times Urban Phantom had made me laugh, had understood, had made me feel less alone. And I tried to overlay that with Jake. Jake, who I dismissed as boring and annoying without ever really trying to know him. Was I angry because he'd lied? Or was I angry because I'd been wrong about him? Because I'd built up this wall between us based on stupid, superficial things like chore charts and passive-aggressive notes. I spent the rest of the evening in my room, listening to old voice messages. Hearing Jake's voice, Urban Phantom's voice, realizing they were the same person. Hearing the warmth and vulnerability that I'd never given him the chance to show me in person. Around midnight, there was a soft knock on my door. Maya? I made tea. Green tea with honey, the way you mentioned you like it. I'm leaving it outside your door. You don't have to talk to me. I just wanted you to know I'm here if you need anything. How did he know I liked green tea with honey? Then I remembered. I told Urban Phantom one night when I couldn't sleep, told him it was my comfort drink, what my mom used to make me when I was sick as a kid. He'd been paying attention. Really paying attention to all the little details I'd shared, thinking I was telling them to a stranger. But I opened the door. Jake was walking back to his room. He turned, saw me standing there holding the mug of tea. Thank you, I said. You're welcome. We stood there in the hallway, me in my doorway, him in his, 20 feet and 1,000 unsaid things between us. Can we talk? I asked. Actually talk. In person. Like real people instead of usernames. He nodded. I'd like that. We sat in the living room. I curled up in the armchair. He sat on the couch. It felt weird, formal, like we were strangers meeting for the first time, which, in a way, we were. Tell me about the real you, I said. Not Urban Phantom. Not passive-aggressive roommate Jake. The actual you. He took a deep breath. Okay.
The real me.
I grew up in a small town in Oregon. My parents had this perfect life planned out for me. Good grades, good college, good job. I followed the script because it was easier than rebelling. Got a computer science degree because it was practical. Got a job at a tech company because that's what you do in Seattle. And I hate it. I hate sitting in meetings talking about user engagement and growth metrics. I hate pretending to be excited about product launches. I hate living this life that looks good on paper but feels empty. He paused, looking down at his hands. I started doing urban exploration 3 years ago. Found the forum, started posting photos. It was the first time I'd done something just for me. Not for my parents, not for my resume, not to impress anyone. Just because it made me happy. And then I met you on there. Or met Midnight Maya. And you got it. You understood why I loved it. Why I needed it. Why didn't you just tell me? When you figured out I was your roommate? Because I was scared. Scared you'd think I was a creep. Scared you'd move out. Scared I'd lose the one real connection I'd made in years. It was selfish, I know. But Maya, talking to you was the best part of my day. The only part where I felt like myself. I sipped my tea, letting his words sink in. I was falling in love with you, I said quietly. With Urban Phantom. With this idea of Aper Sun, who I'd never met. And now I don't know what to feel because you're real, and you're here, and you're nothing like what I expected. Is that bad? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. We talked for hours that night. Really talked. He told me about his childhood, his fears, his dreams of maybe quitting tech and doing something creative. I told him about my family, my own fears, my own sense of being lost, and slowly, I started to see it. The person I'd been falling for online was the same person sitting across from me. The notes, the chore chart, all the things that had annoyed me, they were just his awkward way of trying to connect, of trying to make our living situation work when I'd shut him out from day one. I'm sorry, I said around 3 a.m., for treating you like you were invisible, for being so cold. I was going through my own stuff and I took it out on you. I'm sorry too, for lying, for not telling you the truth when I had the chance, for making you feel betrayed. Are you really you? Is this who you are when you're not trying to be the perfect roommate or the perfect employee? He smiled.
Yeah.
This is me. The guy who stays up too late, who thinks about existential stuff, who likes exploring places that time forgot. The guy who falls for girls who see beauty in abandoned buildings and talk about their feelings at 3 a.m. I still don't know if I can trust you, I said honestly. You lied to me for months.
I know.
And I'll do whatever it takes to earn your trust back. Even if that means being just roommates. Even if that means you never want to talk to me as Urban Phantom again. I just don't want to lose you completely. I didn't have an answer that night. I was too tired, too emotionally wrung out. I went to bed as the sun started coming up, my head spinning with everything that had happened. The next few weeks were awkward as hell. We'd had this intense, intimate, emotional connection online, but in person we were like strangers learning to navigate the same space. We started slow, having coffee together in the morning, watching TV in the living room instead of hiding in our separate rooms, talking about our days instead of leaving notes. It was weird, because I knew so much about him, about his inner thoughts and fears, but I didn't know basic things, like how he took his coffee, what his favorite food was, how he looked when he laughed at something genuinely funny instead of just polite social laughter. We went on a first date, even though we lived together. He took me to dinner at this Thai place in University District. We talked about movies and music and all the normal first date stuff, even though we'd already had deep conversations about the meaning of life and death and everything in between. This is surreal, I said over pad thai. I feel like I'm dating in reverse. We had emotional intimacy before we even knew each other's favorite colors.
Blue, he said.
Yours is blue. You mentioned it once when you were talking about the sky in one of your photos. He remembered. Of course he remembered. Yours is green, I said. You said abandoned places feel green to you, like nature reclaiming what humans left behind. We were both keeping score, remembering details, proving we'd been paying attention. 2 months after the revelation, we had our first real fight. Not as Midnight Maya and Urban Phantom, but as Maya and Jake, roommates trying to figure out what we were to each other. IT started over something stupid. I'd forgotten to buy toilet paper and he made a comment about it. I snapped that I didn't need him leaving notes about every little thing. He said he wasn't leaving a note, he was just mentioning it. I said it was the same passive-aggressive bullshit as before. He said I was being defensive. I said he was being controlling. It escalated. We yelled. Actually yelled. About toilet paper and chore charts and expectations and boundaries. About lying and trust and forgiveness. And then, in the middle of the argument, he said, "I love you." I stopped mid-sentence. What? I love you. Not Midnight Maya.
You. Maya.
The real you. The one who forgets to buy toilet paper and watches trashy TV and stays up too late. The one who sees beauty in broken things. The one who's messy and complicated and real. I love all of it. I started crying. That's not fair. You can't just say that in the middle of a fight about household chores.
Why not?
It's true. I've been in love with you since that first conversation on the forum. And I'm still in love with you now, even when you're yelling at me about passive-aggressive notes. I love you too, I said, and then I was crying harder. I love you, and I hate that I love you because you lied to me and I don't know if I can trust you, and it would be so much easier if I could just hate you, but I can't. He crossed the room, pulled me into a hug. I tried to push him away at first, still angry, still hurt. But then I gave in, let myself cry into his stupid soft t-shirt that probably had some tech company logo on it. "I'm sorry," he murmured into my hair. "I'm so sorry. I will spend however long it takes proving to you that I'm trustworthy, that I am worth taking a chance on." "You already are," I said. "That's the problem. You're exactly who I thought you were. You're exactly who I fell in love with. And that's terrifying." We stood there in our living room, holding each other, both crying a little, both scared and hopeful and confused. That night we stayed up talking again. But this time in person, sitting on the couch, my feet in his lap, his hand absently playing with me hair. Talking about everything and nothing. About our fears, our hopes, what we wanted this to be. "I want to try," I said. "But I need you to promise me no more lies. No more hiding behind usernames or notes. If you have something to say to me, you say it to my face. I promise. No more hiding. And I promise to actually give you a chance. To not run away or shut you out when things get hard."
Deal.
We kissed that night for the first time. It was soft and tentative and a little awkward because we'd built it up so much in our heads, but also perfect. Because it was real. Not typed words on a screen or voices in the dark. Real breath, real touch, real connection. The next few months were a learning curve. We had to figure out how to be in a relationship when we'd skipped all the normal steps. We already knew each other's deepest fears and biggest dreams, but we had to learn how to navigate normal couple stuff, like who did dishes when and how to split bills and whether it was okay to eat the last of the leftovers. We still use the forum sometimes. Still send each other messages as Midnight Maya and UrbanPhantom when we wanted to be vulnerable in that special way that had brought us together. But mostly we talked in person. Really talked. Without the shield of anonymity that I met his parents 6 months in. They were confused about our origin story. "So, you met online but you were already living together?" His mom kept asking, trying to make sense of it. We just laughed and said it was complicated. My friends thought it was the weirdest love story they'd ever heard. "You fell in love with your roommate without knowing it was him?" My best friend Sarah kept repeating. "That's either incredibly romantic or incredibly creepy. I can't decide which." "Both," I told her. "It's both." A year after the revelation, we moved to a new apartment. A 1-bedroom this time, because we didn't need separate spaces anymore. Jake quit his tech job, started doing freelance photography, focusing on urban exploration. I switched to a smaller marketing firm that actually valued creativity over corporate bullshit. We were happier. Not perfect. We still fought sometimes. Still had to navigate the complicated emotional terrain of a relationship built on deception.
But we were honest now.
Real. Sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night and just watch him sleep, still amazed that the person I'd fallen in love with online was right here next to me. That the voice in the dark had become the person I shared my life with. He'd catch me watching sometimes, open one eye and smile. "Creep," he'd mumble. "You catfished me. I think I'm allowed to be a creep." Fair point. And we'd fall back asleep, tangled together. The ghosts of our past selves finally laid to rest. Looking back now, I can see how messed up it was. How unhealthy the foundation of our relationship seemed. He lied to me for months. I fell in love with an idea before I fell in love with a person. We were both hiding from reality in our separate ways, but I can also see how it was the only way we could have found each other. If Jake had just been my roommate, I never would have given him a chance. I'd have kept seeing him as annoying and too perfect, and not my type. If UrbanPhantom had just been a stranger online, I never would have taken the risk of meeting in person, too scared of disappointment. We needed the masks to see each other clearly. We needed the distance to get close. We needed to fall in love with words and voices before we could fall in love with bodies and routines and everyday moments. It's been 3 years now since I found out. 3 years of building something real out of something that started as a lie. 3 years of learning to trust, to be vulnerable, to love someone who knows every part of you, even the parts you tried to hide. Last month, Jake proposed. Not online, not through a voice message, but in person. At the abandoned theater where I'd taken the photo that started everything. He'd gotten permission from the city, cleaned up a section of the stage, brought candles and flowers, and made it beautiful. "I know I did everything backwards with us," he said, down on one knee in the ruins. "I know I lied and hid and messed up. But Maya, you're the best mistake I ever made. You're the person I was pretending to be for everyone else, but you made me want to actually become that person. You made me want to be real. So I'm asking you, in the most real way I know how, in a place that's falling apart but still beautiful because you showed me how to see it that way. Will you marry me?" I said yes. Obviously, I said yes. Because despite everything, despite the lies and the confusion and the backwards way we found each other, Jake is my person. The voice in the dark. The stranger in the next room. The one who saw me when I didn't want Hope seen that we still go urban exploring together. Still post on the forum as Midnight Maya and UrbanPhantom, though everyone there knows we're together now. Our story became legendary in that small community. The couple who met online without knowing they already knew each other. Sometimes people ask me if I'm angry about how it started. If I wish things had happened differently. If I resent the months off deception, the truth? I don't know. Maybe I should be angrier. Maybe I should have walked away when I found out. Maybe a relationship built on a lie can never be fully healthy. But here's what I do know. Jake knows me better than anyone else in the world. He knows the parts of me I share online, the parts I share in person, and the parts one try to keep hidden from everyone. And he loves all of it. And I know him. The real him. Not the tech bro persona, or the perfect roommate, or even UrbanPhantom. Just Jake. Flawed and scared and trying his best. That's worth something. Maybe it's worth everything. Oh yeah, my roommate catfished me for 8 months while living 20 feet away from me. It was messed up. It was weird. It was probably the worst way to start a relationship, but it's our story. And I wouldn't change it. Not even if I could, because sometimes the person you're looking for is already there. You just needed the right circumstances to finally see them, even if those circumstances involve a ridiculous username, 347 messages, and an accidentally unlocked phone that changed everything.